This is Pulse 95.
Pulse 95.
It's the Morning Majlis. It's the Morning Majlis.
Good morning and welcome on to the Morning Majlis. We are gearing up for the second hour of the program. We'll be discussing a lot of international developments, a lots of charitable donations and a lot of supporting the backbone of any economy, and that is the small and medium-sized enterprises, and that is happening all the way in Lebanon. And before that, Ahmed Dawood, there's lots to discuss when it comes to developments in the United States, especially in the tech sector.
Yes, absolutely. And what we're talking about here is what the U.S. is doing with regards to Huawei, the Chinese tech company. And it's part of a larger conflict between the two countries. We're going to get into more details, the significance of the latest move by the United States to place even further restrictions on Huawei technologies, what this means for Huawei, and what it means as far as the larger conflict is concerned. We're going to be getting into that this hour. Plus, Rania, a lot of stuff happening in Lebanon.
Indeed, Ahmed. Well, we will continue to give you all the latest developments on the Beirut aid campaigns and initiatives worldwide. One of the biggest companies in the world is pledging a huge grant to support local relief efforts in Beirut and also to help small businesses affected by this deadly explosion that really rocked the city and the world back on August 4th. And also we will be talking about how Egypt and Iraq are reacting to this explosion as well.
Yeah, it's really an eye-opener for a lot of countries, not only in the region, just across the globe. Do not ignore little issues. And, you come across these circulars, a couple of warnings, and you think every other organization is just complaining, being an executive in authority. But the fact of the matter is, more you ignore a little matter, it can explode into a massive matter. And we've seen that in Lebanon. It is something that we'll be talking about. And there's lots to ponder over, as there is the long-awaited murder verdict also coming out very soon. It was delayed as a result of that tragedy, but it is coming out, so we'll be talking about that as well later on in the program. But apart from that, we shall keep you posted. One thing that I'm really excited about is an initiative by Sharjah Police. And a lot of people have this complaint saying, it's so far to drive to the Souq al-Haraj area to get my vehicle tested and car registered. Well, we've got a new service for you. For all those lazy people and couch potatoes, that now Sharjah Police is going to come to you. Maybe not in the form of a fine, hopefully, fingers crossed, but more in the form of let's get your car tested. Well, we're talking about that and what's happening, so stay tuned to Pulse 95. Send us your thoughts and opinions on the text lines 4215. And also catch us live on YouTube. We're streaming our content and we're all over the YouTube page at the moment. So stay tuned and send us your thoughts and opinions on the text lines 4215. Alternatively, DM us on Pulse 95 Radio. This is the Morning Majlis on Pulse 95.
Pulse 95.
The Morning Majlis. Talking the stories that are shaping headlines. This is Pulse 95.
On the Morning Majlis, we tend to talk a lot about travel, and a lot of people remain confused. A lot of people still wondering, is it the best time to go out traveling? Is it the best time to be booking those trips? And here's a little bit of a clarity. In Sharjah International Airport, if you are booking your flight to travel out, there has been a notification sent to all travel partners saying that as per the directives received from the UAE Ministry of Health with immediate effect, all passengers departing from Sharjah Airport are required to have COVID-19 negative PCR test with a validity of not more than 48 hours from the time of departure.
Yes, that's in Sharjah, but in Abu Dhabi, 2 airlines have made it mandatory to produce a negative COVID-19 test. Etihad Airways made the announcement last Wednesday about this. And UAE's flag carrier also has announced on its website it is mandatory to have a COVID-19 PCR test before you fly with Etihad Airways starting Sunday, August 16th. It also explained, or said, they continue by saying your test can be carried out at any government accredited medical facility a maximum of 96 hours before your flight departure time. You will only be permitted to fly if you have a negative COVID-19 PCR test issued by an approved clinic a maximum of 96 hours before your flight departure time. Remember to print your test results, keep them with you throughout your trip, and you'll be also required to present your results for validation at check-in points.
Yes, and back to Sharjah, passengers departing and requiring that COVID-19 negative test. We've got more on that, the statement from Sharjah Airport saying, as per the directives received from the UAE Ministry of Health, with immediate effect, all passengers departing from Sharjah Airport are required to have COVID-19 negative PCR test with a validity of not more than 48 hours from the time of departure. The statement added that airlines are required to collect the negative PCR test report at the check-in counter. This is according to the notice issued to all airlines as well.
Yeah, and one thing that you've got to be mindful of is the ICA approval system. A lot of people have been thinking and assuming that it's all okay to return back to the country. However, it is a recommendation by the ICA website, and they are saying that you have to apply for the document validation. So you've got to do that, and once you've done once you've ensured the validity, you can return to the country, and you have to wait for that green light that emerges right after you've submitted your documents, and then you can do so. A couple of people have done that without getting it verified. They landed, and there had been some issues as well on their arrival. So please do make sure that you follow the right protocol and also follow the right information that is coming out from the authorities. Another aspect is Dubai Airport. They've been saying that now that the testing has moved from the airport to Al Ahli Sports Club, a lot of people are now waiting in long queues to get their test before they go to the airport. Best thing is get it done at the UAE accredited laboratories here, the healthcare facilities, and then go and plan your travel, as opposed to turning up and thinking you're going to get the instant test done very quickly. No, it takes time because there's a lot of passengers traveling through the airport now. 20,000 passengers a day, as per the recent statistics from the airport authorities.
Speaking of planning travel, I just read that Google launched new set of tools to help users plan travel during the pandemic.
No.
Now, travelers will be able to access information on hotel and flight availability and also search for properties with free cancellation policies. So Google basically started providing pandemic-specific information about flights, hotels, and destinations for those looking to book travel, for example, in the United States and United Kingdom, with new markets set to be added, of course, in the coming weeks. So new tools, very interesting. Very helpful.
Helpful indeed. Well, we'll be taking a bit of a breather right now, and we'll come back to you right after the news headlines, sports headlines to be precise, courtesy of Aisha Al-Mazmi. And then after that, we'll let you know if you are getting lost whilst navigating and whilst driving. There's one solution for you. Morning Majlis will keep you posted because we've got a special feature / documentary for you right after the sports headlines. Stay tuned to Pulse 95.
Pulse 95.
The Morning Majlis, talking the stories that are shaping headlines. This is Pulse 95.
Yes, this is Pulse 95, and we are continuing the discussion about Beirut's aid campaigns and all the international relief efforts, and the latest one being from Google. Google is committing a grant of $2.2 million. That's equivalent to 8 million dirhams to support local relief efforts in Beirut and also help small businesses affected by the deadly explosion that really rocked the whole world, not just Beirut, on August 4th. Now, the funds raised under Google's employee donation matching program will be allocated to local NGOs in Lebanon that provide medical relief, public shelter, and also food donations to the victims. And also a statement coming out from managing director for Google in the Middle East saying that we are deeply saddened by the tragic explosion in Beirut. Our thoughts go out to every person in and outside of Lebanon who are impacted. The Google donation will only go to local NGOs and charitable organizations that are doing hard work on the ground to serve affected and displaced individuals and families.
And what they're also doing is funding the Youth Business International, and that's always a very powerful thing because the youth are coming out and they're a bit more, let's say, resilient and a bit more confident about starting up with their own entrepreneurship journey as well. So the program also includes mentorship by Google employees who will help these business owners upskill and adapt to the challenges that are ahead of them. Lebanon has been reeling from this explosion, which caused widespread damage to the infrastructure and injured more than 6,000 people. Death toll climbed above 200, and the damage estimated as a result of that tragic incident is far too high for a country as well that has been suffering economically and politically as well. But it's been a sort of an eye-opener. For a lot of people.
It has been an eye-opener.
It has been an eye-opener for a lot of people, as indeed for the pre-existing problems within Lebanon, with a wave of protests occurring even prior to the explosions, heightened following the explosion situation, and people are critical of the pre-existing system, which they allege is corrupt, and a large reason as to why this problem began in the first place. And the main demand today for protesters in Lebanon is to salvage this government and go beyond political class, go beyond nepotism, and have a government that has a clear mandate to steer this ship through an economic crisis that has gripped Lebanon for a prolonged period, even pre the coronavirus.
Yeah, and it's been an eye-opener as well for other countries to take immediate action to clear dangerous chemicals being stored at ports after this most massive explosion happened, and that is happening in Egypt and Iraq for them. They are taking this action to clear dangerous chemicals. Even Egyptian Finance Minister Mohammed Mate told Parliament that new customs procedures were being put in place to prevent the storage or abandonment of dangerous or explosive materials. He said that what happened in Beirut made us examine our own situation, and we actually got rid of large quantities of abandoned and neglected dangerous materials that were in the ports. There are materials that have been delivered to multiple ministries, including oil and defense and interior, and by next December, Egyptian ports will be completely cleaned. So that's for Egypt.
Yeah, I think what actually happens is it's definitely an eye-opener for a lot of people. Little obstacles do come in the way, and your own governance gets a bit of a question mark at the moment. But apart from that, before we delve into that, Lebanon at the moment is also traumatized because the verdict on the assassination of their former Prime Minister Rafiq Hariri is going to be emerging today, as per what we do understand. And the pandemic has worsened in Lebanon as well, coronavirus situation, as a result of the lack of social distancing in the hospitals, and they've been overwhelmed. And when we look at the support that they've received, Sharjah authorities as well have been at the forefront. The Big Heart Foundation led a massive charity drive as well and raised funds through Sharjah TV network as well. But apart from that, the situation has been in the focus for a time to come.
It is a focus for a time to come, and a lot of people are on the edge of their seats. This is a pretty tense development. I mean, regardless of the verdict of this trial, there will be divisions and there will be fresh tensions that are almost certain to follow. And aside from that, that's a situation we'll certainly be covering in later editions of the programs as the verdict is out. But yes, Lebanon is in deep trouble. On top of the blast, you have the currency collapsing, inflation, spiraling unemployment, and now you have mass protests over the political system. So it would add yet another wave of tensions to an already embattled country.
Indeed, and Lebanon has been in all sorts of hot water because also, besides the blast that hit the country really, really terribly, the country also has been registering new coronavirus infections, hundreds of new. Just a couple of days ago, it registered almost 500 new infections and 6 deaths in just 24 hours. That to a point where Lebanon, the caretaker health minister said that Lebanon must shut down for 2 weeks after this surge in coronavirus infections. So my heart really goes out to everyone in Lebanon because it's not a good situation, not a good timing in anything right now for them.
No, not at all. It's not the best of all scenarios, and it's just goes to show that nothing can be in your control, and it is very worrying times indeed. But speaking of being heroes, and everyone can be heroes and could be making that little change that can make a difference in your own household. So stay tuned to Pulse 95. We'll be right back after the short musical interval.
Pulse 95.
The Morning Majlis, talking the stories that are shaping headlines. This is Pulse 95.
It is Pulse 95, and we are beginning to feel the heat the planet Earth is, because the highest temperature on Earth has now been recorded, and it is 54.4 degrees Celsius.
Oh my God. So where do you think? I mean, you should ask people, where do they think it is?
Where do you think it is?
Did you get responses?
We did. Lots of people have been saying the naming of valley. They're saying of Death Valley.
Oh.
And apparently it's true. It's called Death Valley because the earliest recorded temperature highest was in Furnace Creek in the Death Valley in the United States itself.
In California.
In California.
Yeah.
And now we have highest temperature recorded in the same national park. What they say is 130 degrees Fahrenheit. For us, it is 54.4 degrees Celsius.
But you know what's really interesting? I searched up the highest temperature recorded in the world ever. It's in the same state, California, back in 1913, and it was only 4 degrees Fahrenheit difference.
Oh.
It was 134.1 Fahrenheit, and it was also in California, and that was in the year of 1913. So that is equivalent to 56.7 degrees Celsius. That is the highest recorded temperature in the world.
So that makes me think. So people in 1913 looking back at us and saying, oh, it's your fault for global warming. Well, you had global warming back then too.
Right?
Don't blame us.
I wonder what the reason was back then.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's the situation at the moment. It's caused 2 days of blackouts in California as a result of a power plant being malfunctioned.
Yeah, that's the thing about heat waves in California in particular, because so much of the power over there relies on solar and wind energy. When you have these heat waves, the power grid becomes strained and malfunctions from time to time as well. So in order to manage the state's demand for power and prevent this complete shutdown due to the heat, officials are using scheduled rolling blackouts in order to control and conserve energy as well. And this is part of a larger heat wave that the United States is undergoing. The United States' west coast, and temperatures are forecast to rise even further this week. Oppressive heat, and it is in your face, is what people working at the Death Valley National Park have described this feeling of being under those 54 degrees Celsius conditions.
What's your solution to fighting heat waves?
Before I answer your question, that just makes me question some of the comments that my family back in Iraq You know, they're like, oh, it's so hot in Iraq. It's about 60 degrees Celsius.
Yeah.
So that just makes me question their integrity when they're passing on. They think it's a fact, but now I'm gonna have to answer in the back and say, listen, it's not a fact. It's not 60. It's definitely not 60 degrees Celsius over there, because the highest recorded temperature ever was in 1913, and that was only 56.7.
True.
So yeah.
So yeah, that's their answer. Well, you know, sometimes people in the United Arab Emirates also complain of the heat during the summer, and at the moment they'll be complaining. So to give you a little bit of a temperature update, which Hani Balkis will be giving to you in quite some time. Sharjah can expect sunny skies, highs of 39 degrees Celsius later on today, and humidity is going to be 60%. So that usually gives an impression that things are a lot hotter than they are. But imagine 54 degrees Celsius. A couple of statements are coming out from people, and it's kind of funny. And they're saying, when you walk outside, it's like being hit in the face with a bunch of hairdryers.
Yeah.
And you feel the heat, and it's like walking into an oven, and the heat is just all around you. It's so worrying in terms of, you know, how hot it is. But to combat heat, have you got any tips, useful tips?
Something that I do personally, even though I love spicy food, but I stay away from spicy food because it gets me heated as well. I feel like I feel hot afterwards. Drink a lot of water.
Okay, good tip, useful.
A lot of water. If it gets too hot, I don't feel like here in the United Arab Emirates we cope with that, especially that ACs work just perfectly. But in other countries, ACs don't work as good as we have here. So some people actually tend to they sleep on wet sheets.
Yeah, I know that one.
Yeah. So that also helps.
People wear ice jackets as well sometimes.
Oh.
Yeah,
Is that available?
Sports people do that. Sports people in
Really?
the training, they sometimes wear ice jackets.
Where's that available at?
Shout out to everyone who sells them. Let us know. Text
Okay.
4215.
They also have these mini fans that they're handheld ones, and they spray water at you. So
Yeah,
spray
that's
water,
mist
air yourself
fans, mist fans. Yeah, and a lot of restaurants are actually have those air-conditioned units outside for the outdoors. So when people are dining, they can make use of that. So that's also one way of combating
And
it.
if you have blinds in the house as well, or curtains, it's better to
Draw them, yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing, useful tip from my side: watermelon juice. Get that.
out. Watermelon is so refreshing. Always works in the summer.
Yes, Mr. Batikh, you know. So that's the most useful fruit out there for combating the summer heat. Well, to give you a little bit of a business update, we have Aisha Al-Mazmi coming back on air, and then we'll continue the discussions right after that, right here on the Morning Majlis, and we'll be talking about Salam Beirut and how entities in Sharjah are supporting that as well. Business news headlines up next, courtesy of Aisha Al-Mazmi.
Entertainment headlines.
Entertainment headlines.
Entertainment headlines.
This is
The Buzz.
Let's go around the Majlis and ask everyone who their favorite actor is. Abdul Karim, let's start with you.
Favorite actor?
That is a tough one, isn't it?
It is
Yeah.
a tough one. I didn't expect this question at all.
Neither did I.
I was really gearing up with the discussion of someone's birthday today.
Because this person that we're going to pay tribute to today is actually my favorite actor. Just happens to be that. Yeah.
Okay. My favorite actor.
Ahmed Abdul
Oh my
Karim.
goodness! Like it's a really tough question.
One of your favorite actors. Let's just say
I'd have to give it. I think.
Hollywood. Let's be more specific.
I'd like to give my favorite actor accolade to Rowan Atkinson. I was a big fan of him. You know,
Really?
You know Rowan Atkinson?
Of course,
Yes.
yeah. Mr.
Bean. Yeah.
Mr. Bean, yeah.
I have to be a big fond of his acting because he was very good in Johnny English. He's very good in a number of other shows where he's films where he's played a serious role. So I like him as an actor. I have to give you that. But in terms of Hollywood,
Pacino?
no.
No.
Let's go with the popular choice of the ladies, George Clooney. Why not?
Really?
Just give
He's
it George-
good as well, yeah.
Just give it to George
What
Clooney.
about you,
I'll
Ahmed?
just throw Anthony Hopkins out there.
Nice. That's
Oh,
good.
yeah, he is.
Yeah.
Spectacular.
Good
Yeah,
choice.
he is.
But
Mine is-
Benedict Cumberbatch, his talent.
Oh, he is.
He's pure talent. Stage actor, serious shows, and played such a wonderful role in, I think it was The Fifth Estate, where he plays Julian Assange.
Pretty versatile, yeah.
Yeah, he was very good at that. Very good. But yes, let's move on to Robert De Niro.
Let's move on to Robert De Niro. Yesterday it was his birthday, our time, but maybe now, it's still the 17th in the U.S., right? Maybe.
Yep, it is.
So maybe he's still celebrating his birthday, his 77th birthday. That is. He's just one of the best. He's been his career has been spanning for almost 5 decades. So it's fair to say that Robert De Niro is one of Hollywood's most accomplished actors, and he's definitely the role model for many young actors as well. And he can make you laugh. He's not just serious. He can make you laugh. One of my favorites movies, or couple of my favorite movies of him, when he was actually funny. Analyze this, analyze that.
Oh,
Okay.
Meet the Parents.
Meet the Parents, yes. I definitely enjoyed that. And I like the sequel as well, Meet the In-Laws, after that,
Yeah.
which is very, very, very good.
Right.
And I'm a big fan of his Taxi Driver.
Taxi Driver, yeah.
I think it's one of the classics.
Magnificent,
Because a number of articles have emerged, top films to watch. Ahmed Dawood, any particular Robert De Niro film you've watched?
I would say the movie I always go back to when I think of Robert De Niro is Goodfellas. It's
Yeah.
a memoir of life in the mafia.
It's a classic.
And the thing that's so special about this movie is, for a lot of movies, you watch the movie and then you walk out of the theater and you're back to your real life, and the movie just evaporates. It's just a distant memory. You watch this movie, I walked out and the mood of it was stuck with me. The betrayal, I was sort of nostalgic for it. You know, there's something to that movie, and then De Niro was a big part of it. He played this mafia boss, very strong character, very real. And when he played a character, he gave his whole being into it, and it becomes even confusing looking at him as an actor beyond the characters he played on movies. So I'd say Goodfellas is a movie that's had
You
an impact.
believe him when he's a mafia boss.
Yeah, it's very convincing.
Very convincing, yeah. Even in Raging Bull, it's an American biopic sports drama film.
Boxing.
Yes.
Gotta
Oh,
love boxing. Gotta love
So
a bit of
good.
boxing.
Directed by Scorsese, and it was in 1980. And he was a middleweight. He wanted to achieve his first shot at at a boxing title, and it was, I don't know. It kind of gave me the same feel when I watched Rocky, except better.
That's true, but it's great. You know, boxing is a great sport,
Yeah.
and shout out to Omar Adouri. He is usually tuning in at this hour. He's also a new boxing fan as well. You know, been getting involved a lot more, and has been doing really well, progressing extremely well. I've got to give you that. It is, you know, when you watch these films, you get so into it. I watched Southpaw on Netflix. I watched it for 3 minutes or 5 minutes. I have a problem when I'm watching films. I get distracted after a few minutes.
Right.
I was watching it for 3 minutes. I paused and I went straight to my boxing training. I was like, yeah, I'm done. I've just done. I'm just so motivated. And what a brilliant film, Southpaw, as well. It is great to watch, and it's great to watch these. And happy birthday to Robert De Niro.
Happy birthday to the magnificent Robert De Niro.
And you've watched The Irishman. You were a big fan
yes,
of that film.
Big fan. And really, I remember at one point in my life, I dedicated a whole week, nonstop, just watching Robert De Niro films.
I think today's
Film after film after film after film, until I watched all of his films. Probably.
Tonight is the night. If you missed out on celebrating his birthday, Robert De Niro films, you've got to watch that. So if you've got any particular favorites, let us know on the text lines 4215. Sadly, it is time for the Morning Majlis to be paving the way for musical entertainment, and from 2 p.m. it's going to be Future Talk taking over the airwaves. Tomorrow is going to be a very exciting show on the Majlis. We're bringing in G42 Healthcare to talk to us about the updates from the vaccine trials taking place here in the United Arab Emirates. What's going on and how's the response been here in Sharjah Qarayan Health Centre? But for the time being, guys will be heading off, and if they want to catch us visually and both audio, where can they catch that?
Well, if you want to catch our conversations that we had throughout the show, you can type in Morning Majlis on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or SoundCloud and listen in to what we discussed today and all the other days. And if you want to catch visually, you can go on to YouTube and type in Pulse 95 Radio and look for the episodes with Morning Majlis.
Well, for now, it's time to say goodbye, and we'll be back again tomorrow morning, bright and early. Stay tuned to Pulse 95.
Pulse 95. You're listening to Pulse 95. Pulse 95.
It's Pulse 95.